Yes, well, it seems, doesn't it, with referendums, and that was certainly our experience with 99, that when a referendum is first announced, there's a lot of support for it because people haven't heard all of the arguments against it because those who are opposed to it haven't had the opportunity to put their arguments. But as the referendums approach, they become less popular. And
well, I think that's right. And the point I'd make, David, is this. And I by the way, I mean, I was in Parliament for 18 years. I ran, a number of Senate campaigns here in Queensland. I'm not unfamiliar with political campaigning. I am astonished at how badly the advocates for yes have gone about their campaign. I mean, they have adopted this hectoring, morally bullying, sanctimonious, patronising tone, and Australians don't like that. They're reacting against it. They're reacting against being told that if they don't vote yes, they're bad people. And unlike general elections, which are binary, you either have to vote for, at the end of the day, you have to either vote for or against the government. Referendums are not binary because there are always three constituencies in a referendum. There are the people who are sold on the desirability of change, the yes people. There are the people who have decided early in the piece that they're against the change, the no people. But there are also the people who are interested, who are open to be persuaded that they should vote for change, but are not quite convinced. And their default position is to vote no unless they're sure that they want the change. Mm. And I think the campaigners for the yes case have misunderstood this. They have thought that they've approached this as if it's a binary choice. Ultimately, of course, it is a binary choice, yes or no. But in the current, for the duration of the campaign, the undecideds are the core market, and they're not like undecideds in an election campaign. They're people who are open to change, but unless they are persuaded, brought over the line, their default position is to vote no.
I think you're absolutely right, and we find that we certainly found it that the undecided, or those who say they are undecided in opinion polls, tend to move to the no case rather than to the yes case as time proceeds.
And that, by the way, David, isn't necessarily because they agree with the no case. Mm. Rather, it's because they've adopted the precautionary principle, and which is a rational choice for them. It's the intelligent choice for people who are not fully persuaded as to the desirability of voting yes. And I think the government has particularly exacerbated their problem here by the total lack of transparency about how the voice will work. And we hear people like Mr Albanese and Mr Dreyfus sort of scoff at the thought that there's any area of doubt. I haven't heard two ministers, whether it be poor Linda Burney, who's obviously a very nice person but a terrible advocate, or Anthony Albanese or Mark Dreyfus or any of them. I've never heard them describe how the voice will work in the same way in any interview I've ever heard.
I think you're absolutely right. You gave some very generous advice in the Sydney Morning Herald to the yes case.
My tongue was planted firmly in my cheek, of course, in parts of that article.
But they didn't listen to you. I haven't seen them take that up. In fact, in my view, they should have referred this to a convention, as John Howard referred the Republic question to a convention, where you would have got some sensible conclusions. I think there's an enormous, and I wonder whether you agree, there's an enormous sympathy among all Australians for the Indigenous people, particularly because of the gap in the remote areas. Once they realise, as I'm sure is the case, once they realise that the voice will do absolutely nothing if it is established to closing the gap, in fact, it'll probably make it worse, like so many other reforms in this area, they'll all move to the no case.
Well, I think that's true, and if you look at the most vocal Indigenous campaigners for yes, whether it's people like Marcia Langton or Noel Pearson or Linda Burney herself and others, I wonder about the extent of their connectedness with these remote communities.